Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Raptors 2K podcast, brought to you by Uber Eats. I am Phil Visu. I am a former host of the NBA 2K League, turned current streamer and content creator, and also decided, you know what? It's time to link up with one of my boys from the past. I'm talking to my man Shane right across from me. Shane, talk to me, baby. How you doing?
Good, Phil, man. Thanks for doing this with us. I really appreciate you.
That is no problem, bro. I think it was pretty easy for me to agree to do this because, one, I still love 2K, and two, I've always been a fan of you. So I was like, we can link up and do something for fun. Let's make it hot.
Okay, well, we're going to address the elephant in the room right off the top then. So he says
Oh.
that, and our history goes back. Our history goes back. I will admit. So in season 1 of the 2K League, you guys who've been following since back then will know Phil was our desk host. He was doing a bunch of stuff on the broadcast as we were kind of figuring it out. And
Yes,
And so we became buddies, and he was always hitting all the managers of the teams up for gear. So I got him some Raptors Uprising gear. You were one of the only ones, Phil, that I went to the trouble to stuff my carry-on with gear and bring to the studio with you. And we started following each other. And I saw you were a big personality in the Smash Brothers scene, and you were hilarious on Twitter. And then you followed me. It's pretty early in my Twitter esports history, and I thought, oh man, I was so proud. This is my funniest follower for sure. And then at some point, you unfollowed me, and since then,
Yes.
I've been chasing you in Twitch chat to follow me back. So for the 2K League Twitch regulars, you may know Phil and I because I'm always bugging him to follow me back in Twitch chat. We're about to do 10 episodes of a podcast series together, and we really haven't spent a lot of time chatting with one another, even though we've crossed paths over the years. And again, goes back to season 1 of the 2K League. So maybe by the end of the podcast, I will have earned the follow back.
I want to say something real quick about that a lot of people know. There was a time, I think it was it was either at the end of season 1 or season 2. I can't quite remember. But I told Dirk, I'm walking off the set. I'm done here. Just kind of messing around and trolling. So I actually went on my Twitter, and at the time I unfollowed like all the teams, all the personnel, and I just didn't follow everybody back. You're just a victim of my bad trolling. So Shane, by the end of this, maybe we can put it back together. We'll see how it goes.
Sounds like excuses to me. Well, listen, so Phil is the pro here. Phil has all kinds of professional hosting experience. I just pretend to do that sometimes in the Raptors Uprising content. So I'm the amateur, and I realized that after you did your intro, I didn't even introduce myself. So I'm director of esports at MLSE and oversee our esports programs, including Raptors Uprising, which is the Toronto Raptors affiliate in the NBA 2K League. And as you may have picked up on from the last story, I've been doing this since season 1. We're now in the 4th season of the league. And I'll tell a little bit of the background here. So we do a lot of content. Anyone who follows Raptors Uprising will know we produce a lot of content. We tell the stories of our team pretty thoroughly in a lot of different formats. And so when we sat down with Uber Eats, we really started talking about what haven't we done yet. And, we have one kind of long form series called North Code. It's our docu-series. It tells the story of each of our seasons across 10-minute episodes. It's 6 10-minute episodes per season, so in 1 hour. But with this series, I think we're going to be able to even take a further step back, or perhaps the way you look at it is deeper into some of those stories, because we've got a longer format here where we can tell them. And then the plan is obviously to take these things and chop them up into smaller bits that we can share with you for wider distribution on social. So the point is I really needed some help. I needed a pro, someone with some personality and experience like my man Phil here. And then I was watching a broadcast like, I don't know, a month ago or so, Phil, when I DM'd you, and I saw that you were still keeping up with the league. You were still in Twitch chat. And I thought, okay, there's a very small circle of people who have experience in the 2K League and experience doing what you do that could fit this mold. And so we started chatting about this, and I was so glad you agreed to do it with me.
It was an easy okay for me personally. Now, obviously, I've been keeping up with the league. I haven't to the extent that I used to because I don't work there anymore. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, I still very much so enjoy the content, the players. I'm still investing in a lot of people, especially like the OGs, which a couple of them I heard Shane might be stopping by on the later half of this first episode. Little spoilers out there for the people.
We'll have the 3 of the original Still Trill cast who are now Raptors Uprising teammates. We'll talk a little bit about the trade we did earlier this year that kind of brought that trio together again. But we'll have Kenny Got Work, Dimes, and Timelycook from the NBA 2K League coming on after we do a little bit of upfront. So we're gonna, each of these episodes, Phil and I will kind of kick it off. We'll talk about state of the league stuff. I've promised everyone who I've spoken to about this podcast, this is not just going to be a Raptors Uprising podcast. We're not just here, focused on team propaganda. We're going to tell the stories. We're going to bring on guests. We're going to bring on ex-players. We really want it to be about the league and not just our team. So,
which is perfectly fine. But we have a lot to do. I don't feel like I want to do it on an empty stomach. Do you have a solution to that, Shane? How we could avoid that problem?
That's why we pay him the big bucks. That's why we brought the pro on. So everyone, this new podcast series would not be possible without our friends at Uber Eats, and so we're going to kick off every episode by ordering something. And then the end of the show will come when our food arrives. What are you having today, right, Phil? You got anything in mind?
Well, I already had this prep because I knew this was coming. Okay, so some of you guys might not know I relocated to California. Okay, I'm on that West Coast stuff now, so I ordered some sushi. Love it.
Attaboy. And we were just chatting before this. I saw you've gone on like a health and fitness kick. So sushi, make sure you get your proteins in you.
I decided it was time to. You know what? The pandemic is so unfortunate. It's affected so many things, but I decided to at least take advantage of the fact that I got a lot of extra time in myself. I'm gonna do something positive, and I chose weight loss, and it's been fantastic. It's definitely changed my life for the better, and I appreciate you noticing that too.
It makes you feel so good, doesn't it? It's one of those things where when I go into a rut and I forget to work out, I know that what will get me out of it is working out. But it's like I feel like working out has momentum in both directions. When you're doing it, it's easy to do, and when you stop doing it, it's hard to get going again. You know.
You just gotta. It's almost like I'm playing to an extent, like practicing. Like you just know, like at the end of the day, like it's needed, it's necessary, and you're gonna feel great afterwards. So you just gotta find that little bit of motivation, and you know how far it's gonna go. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and that's a good segue. So I was telling Phil just to wake myself up. We've had a busy week, so from a NBA 2K League season timeline perspective, we just finished our last regular season game with the guys on Wednesday. We're heading into the ticket tournament next week with which is the wild card tournament, which is our chance to get into the playoffs because our season started off rough, and we'll tell those stories shortly. But this week's been crazy, and so I told Phil before I got on here that I went out for a run, and this is my first time ever having a ring light on my face as well at my desk, and I feel like I'm just sweating buckets. So is maybe nerves as my first time co-hosting a podcast, and maybe it's the run, and I should have taken a longer cold shower after this, but I'll use that to make excuses for myself if you see a glisten to those of you watching this on YouTube or in any of the video formats that we'll be releasing it in. Well, Phil, I'm getting jerk chicken. This is one of my favorite spots. I order it probably once a week on Uber Eats. It's also close and around the corner, which means it gets here pretty quickly. My girlfriend's out with the car today, so I wouldn't be able to go myself, and so that's where Uber Eats is so helpful and convenient. I am a regular, and I am also a subscriber of the Uber Pass. When you use Uber Eats as frequently as I do, that Uber Pass really comes in handy, reduces your delivery fees and service fees, and then that gives me a little bit more budget to tip the driver, which always makes me feel good as well.
I did not know that was a thing. I'm glad I've been informed because I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I'm a little lazy myself. I'm going to have to look into that. Shane, you sold me. First episode, you already sold me. Crazy.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. So again, shout out Uber Eats. I love that they were willing to embrace this concept and go on this journey with us. It's a format of content that I'm really a big fan of. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and I think it's a great way for us to tell the stories of the league, again, in a really free-flowing and kind of comfortable manner. So, Phil, I think that we should let those listeners who are going to listen to the full-length episodes know a little bit more about us, right? I think there are, those of you who have been following us since the 2K League, it's one thing, but there are stories behind our careers. I'll let you kick it off, I guess. To talk to the people, how did you get into gaming and esports? When did this whole thing begin for you?
I've always been a fan of video games. I think anybody can, anybody who's listening to this probably can relate to that. But competitive wise, for me, it was like 2006, 7. I started playing a lot of Super Smash Bros. And we just wanted to kind of learn more. And I remember obviously the internet wasn't what it was today. So the tools and the resources and the connections were not as readily available, but nonetheless, there was a website, dedicated to Smash, and I got on there and I found this competitive scene. And lo and behold, I went to a tournament and absolutely got stomped. So this, at the time, ignited my competitive. Yeah, it did. It ignited my competitive fervor, or whatever you want to call it. And I just wanted to learn more and more. And it's interesting. I never thought I'd turn being, a competitive Smash Bros player, because I was pretty good back in the day, into a career. But what ended up happening was I got hurt at an event one time, right? Like, I don't know, something was wrong with my wrist. It just felt weird. I went 0-2, I was out, and there was a mic, because this is at the time where they had just started streaming events. Justin TV, aka Twitch, just became on the rise. And I was like, well, I think I'm funny. People like me. So I sat down, I commentated, and I commentated for like 7 hours straight, like just unconsciously, like different partners the whole time, right? And so we swirl right around to YouTube, right? So I just go ahead and I check the YouTube comments, like, I don't know, a week later. People are like, man, this guy's hilarious. He's a jerk, but he's hilarious. I'm like, well, that describes me pretty well. You know what I'm saying? So I ran with that, and I just got deeper and deeper into esports as it bloomed. And then I saw the announcement for the NBA 2K League. One of my friends actually added me on Twitter, and I was like, damn, dude, like, I love basketball. Like, I'm not the greatest at 2K. It's something we play at the favorite reunion, you know what I'm saying? Just because everybody likes to talk smack. But I was like, I really want to get in on this. So I shot my shot, multiple ats at people, multiple DMs, and finally somebody responded, gave me a chance, and I ended up sitting in the commentator seat in season 1 next to Scott Cole. I had no business being there. I will say that right now. I had no business being there. It should have been Dirk. So I remember when I had to miss week 4, that's when Dirk got to commentate, and I was like, yes, Dirk is godlike at this. Let him do it. Let me host, because I think I'm godlike at hosting. And going forward, from there, it was beautiful. And we had a great 2 seasons together. Obviously, because of the pandemic that took place, 3rd season didn't come about. And I'd love to get back. I am going to reach out for season 5, because I would love to get back more involved. And that's why I was so elated that you reached out to me, Shane, for the Raptors 2K podcast. And yeah, that's just what I'm doing right now, baby. I'm just chilling, waiting, biding my time, because I'll be back.
That's great. Yeah, I remember that season 1. And again, you're a trooper, man. You were willing to do whatever job they asked you to do, of course.
Absolutely.
And I was aware of Dirk because when I came into this, I knew nothing about NBA 2K either. Honestly, I have a gaming background. I'll walk you through that story in a second here. But when I came into it, I saw the job opportunity at Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment here, and I just immediately started doing a deep dive into whatever I could find. And the truth is, what was so shocking was that the NBA 2K esports scene was so nascent at the time. There was so little going on. It was pretty small directory on Twitch. And I caught a pro-am game, and Dimes was in it, and Dev Goss was in it. It was their 2 teams playing each other, and Rico and Dirk were casting it. And I spotted Dirk's talent right away. It was Dirk's ability to kind of pull back the layers of the onion that kind of exposed for me the depths of the game, because I really didn't know, how competitive is 2K. Can this be an esport? I've got, I was a bit of a snob growing up for Counter-Strike. I kind of thought no other game mattered other than Counter-Strike, especially in the first-person shooter genre. We'll talk again a little bit about that in a second. But no, that was, you're right. You were so natural on the desk, and you were hilarious, and you were such a great, welcoming face and voice when the show opened. And then Dirk just had that depth of knowledge in game, so he was clearly the right kind of color commentary duo for Scott back then. So you guys figured it out pretty well. It'd be awesome to see you back in the league again. It's just nice seeing you in Twitch chat, knowing you still follow it just because you're a fan of it.
I am.
So I'll do the same. I'll tell the origin story a little bit. So for me, again, I told you already, Counter-Strike was it for me. I grew up, I was like a big action movies guy and run around my neighborhood playing cops and robbers and stuff like that. And when video games started coming out, like GoldenEye on N64, I started seeing the potential. And I immediately thought, okay, when I'm old, this stuff's going to be crazy. I'm going to be able to live out all my action adventure fantasies in what will be at that point probably much more realistic video games. And so I started trying to find that simulation that I, was craving, and, definitely GoldenEye wasn't it. Eventually I found a game called Perfect Dark. I don't know if you remember that one. But Perfect Dark had the ability to put you into, servers with bots. And so you could load the server up with bots and kind of run around, and it felt like you were playing more of a competitive game. But what I really was craving was online gaming. And then one day I went over to my best buddy's place. His older brother had just started playing Counter-Strike. So this was 99, beta Counter-Strike.
Oh my goodness.
What was it, 1.1 or even before that, I guess. And I remember when I saw it, I remember the exact first frames I saw, and it was like I had an out of body experience. Like my brain clicked. I'm like, I knew right away he was playing online against other people, even though I had never seen online gaming before, and it was what I'd been kind of envisioning. So from that point on, Counter Strike and I were like attached at the hip. We would pay his older brother. We weren't really close. It was kind of like he kept his distance from us, didn't want to know much about us, but he would charge us $5 an hour to play games. So we'd give him $10. He'd go out for 2 hours. He'd come back. If we had more money, he'd let us play. If not, he didn't. So it was kind of like I was getting these little tastes of it, but I never really got to fully start playing it. And I remember asking him, what do I need to get this set up at home? And, I don't remember what he said at the time, but it was way beyond my budget. I only had birthday and Christmas really to get these things. And so I kind of walked away from Counter-Strike at that point. And then, fast forward 9 months, having a sleepover with a buddy, he's playing some MMO, and I was kind of like falling asleep, really wasn't into it. And then he's like, oh, I have this other game, Counter-Strike. And he's like, you want to play that? And from that point on, it was like a shotgun to Red Bull. It was just an all-night gaming session. And the next week, he told me he could come over and get it installed on my computer. And I remember that experience vividly too. He brought over the burnt copy of Half-Life. He had the CD key generator. I felt like we were hackers. I'd never seen anyone navigate a file directory on a computer before. And the funny thing is that whole thing came full circle, because then I became the computer guy. And when I was getting out of school, one of the guys from my neighborhood, whose computer I used to go reformat for him, not complicated stuff, but only stuff I knew how to do because I'd gotten into PC gaming at, so early. And he hit me up to be a sales guy for his new software company. And that kickstarted a career in tech. And then there was some tech companies in esports that had been, fundraising out in California and Seattle. And I ended up getting a gig in Seattle at a esports wagering company. And then that got me connected to Luminosity Gaming. And I eventually joined Luminosity Gaming as COO and was with them for a little while. And then I saw what was happening in the industry, and I saw that all of the esports teams were merging with, getting acquired by the traditional sports teams. And in some cases, the traditional sports teams were just making the big investments in the space. And I thought to myself, okay, we got to try to get attached to MLSE. And actually, I think we can say this. I don't think it's too secret, but we were very interested at the time that I was at Luminosity in the Toronto Overwatch League franchise. And we were talking to one of the major entertainment companies here, and they were kind of connected to MLSE. You'll probably remember that story, though. This was before the first deal. This was before the Boston deal came out and the price tag was known. And at that point, we were really just we were kind of sizing it up compared to League of Legends, right? So we were putting this like offer together on paper, and we were running around trying to find investors and being like, here's what we're going to offer and how we're going to do it. And then reality set when the buy-in of 20 million US for that first franchise kind of came out, and we had to kind of go in another direction.
So yeah, that's generally a lot of paper. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
I remember I remember even hearing about like some of the price tags on stuff, and I was like, this is esports, not just sports. Like people are really funneling this kind of money into like that. At least, at the very least, is belief, right? Like,
yeah, I was super excited when Overwatch League came out and had all these sports teams, investing in it. I thought that was just awesome for the scene. Nuts. And yeah, that's what put it on my radar. So, at that point, I put a job alert on Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment's career page. And then one night, I remember vividly, like 2 a.m, I couldn't sleep. My email lit up, and it was a job alert had pinged, and they had posted their esports role. And I applied. I probably was the first person to apply. I think my resume was in by 4 a.m. that morning. And a month later, chased them a little bit, as you always have to do. 2 weeks, I didn't hear anything, and then I went and stalked the executive who was responsible for the new esports department at a talk he was doing on esports, put my suit on and printed out my resume, and just wanted to go and make sure they hadn't missed me in the application process, being the first guy in line. And he introduced me that day to my eventual and current boss, Sumit. And that's kind of how the whole process went along. I remember my last bit of detail on this I remember my final interview. I went in, and it was like American Idol. I was in the middle of a room at a chair, and there were 6 people at a table looking at me. One of them, my current boss, and like our digital guy at the time, our kind of global partnerships guy. And then they had a dude from the NBA 2K League who was here, just happened to be in town that day. And so they said, you'll come check out this interview. And, thankfully, this is a bit of a story in networking with, for all you folks listening. When I was in Seattle working at that esports tech company, I met a guy named Francis there, and Francis was doing digital social stuff for us. And when the NBA, and he was from Australia, and he was a huge NBA fan, and very clear from getting to know him. And so when the NBA 2K League got announced, I actually pinged it to him and I was like, "Hey, dude, like this could be a good fit for you in the industry. Maybe you should check out the gig." And he ended up getting hired as head of social at the 2K League.
Wow, that's Francis's origin. I didn't know that. Okay,
And I
that's
had
pretty
no
dope.
idea at the time that I was going to gun for a Raptors Uprising gig. And so at the end of the interview, which I remember it went pretty well, but at the end of the interview, the Sumit told me when he hired me that they called Francis right then and there and were like, "Hey, should we hire this guy?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I remember I put pressure on them because it was just before Christmas, and they told me they weren't going to get back to me till after Christmas. And I said, "Guys, like you can't leave me hanging all holidays. I'm not even going to be able to enjoy them." And sure enough, Friday night, like 6 p.m. on the 23rd, Sumit called me and told me I got the gig, and that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off.
Wow, there you go. It's kind of crazy what just and that is a great. I'm glad you the way you phrased that and went into such detail because I'm telling you, show companies that you're interested, hound them. It's not about going over the top. It's about showing enthusiasm and interest so they know. Like you even said, you're the first guy in line and you still went the extra effort to make sure that they knew you were about it, man. That's what I love to hear.
Yeah, I give that advice too. I think in my role, a lot of people reach out and ask, "How do I get a gig in esports?" It's this thing everyone wants to do, and opportunities are starting to come, but it's still
Yeah,
few and far between, right? It's still not quite as mature, or, big as the traditional sports scene, obviously. And I give them that exact advice: like, do those extra thing, go the extra mile, know yourself, like, know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and pursue gigs that are going to actually play to your strengths and weaknesses. Like, the last thing you want to do is kind of lie to yourself and go into something that you're not actually going to be good at.
exactly.
Right. When I got that gig in Seattle, it was kind of the same thing. I couldn't get their attention. I was trying. I actually, here's another story. And Phil, you're the pro here, so you got to keep me on track and on time. I'm a
Okay.
tangents guy, and I
You're
talk a mile a minute. So if I'm going too deep, you let me know. But back to that
I got
Seattle
you.
company. When I was trying to get the gig there, I had this tech background and I knew esports because, again, I'd been involved in online gaming, with Counter-Strike since like '99. So I knew it inside and out. I'd watched the whole scene develop, but I didn't have any really relevant experience. So I remember I reached out to Luminosity Gaming. I read it was like their first month or two of operations, and I read a press release. And the name of the CEO was a name I recognized from growing up. I'd actually gone to elementary school with him. We weren't super close, but we were in the same class in grade 6. And I just hit him up and I said, "Here's my background, my resume. I'm trying to get this gig out in Seattle," or at the time there was another company in California I was pursuing. Any chance I could, get some experience with you? I'll volunteer, whatever it is. And at this point, I'm like 8 years into a tech career, and I
Sure.
wasn't really looking for anything. I just wanted experience. So he tells me I can come to the ESWC, the Electronic Sports World Cup in Montreal in a month if I wanted to, if I could pay my own way there. And so I did. I got there. He got me, the team pass, and for me, it was like the weekend that convinced me I needed to get into the space because all of my old, my favorite Counter-Strike players, like I remember all the French Counter-Strike players. I saw Simple when he was on what was the team? Like it was either Flipside or Hellraisers or something back then, and he went nuts after they got beat out of the tournament and said he'll never play with them again, and he stormed out front. And I remember I was like right there in the front of the building when that happened, hanging out with
Oh no.
Anders and Semler and Get Right and Forrest. It was awesome. And so that was kind of the weekend that got it going for me. And so I did that to kind of get the experience. And then I sent in my resume like 9 times, never heard back. And then eventually I was following the founders of the company and I knew they were big Seattle Seahawks fans. And
Mm-hmm.
so I found this high res image of the Seattle skyline online, sent it to my buddy who's a decent designer in Photoshop, and said, "Can you just like apply some color treatment to this so it matches this company's brand, and then put a quote from Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seahawks, in the clouds." And I printed that onto like a 4-foot canvas, shipped it for like almost almost $200 over to Seattle with 2 hard copies of my resume. And then they finally called me back for an interview. And I just want to go on a limb and say, I don't advise everyone to spend hundreds of dollars trying to get jobs with companies. I knew I was the right person. I knew I had the right background and I could sell them on me. And so I was really confident, and it was really one of 2 companies in the world I wanted to work at that point in time. And so I went that extra length, but certainly don't advise everyone goes that far.
Yeah, everyone's not going to be able to I mean, look, effort is free, you know what I'm saying? But some of the things you did are not, which is admirable because it all came full circle. It all put you in a position which I'm sure you're very happy to be in. And speaking of that, I mean, we got to this is the Raptors 2K podcast. I'd be remiss if we didn't cover how the season is going so far. Like, I would say last season pretty historic. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. Raptors were on another level. Admittedly, this season has not started out how you wanted. Picking up a little bit, obviously. Obviously, you mentioned you're looking forward to the ticket tournament. You guys are training for that. But basically, kind of summarize a little bit for us, like, why hasn't this season had the same, level of success early on as last year's?
Yeah. So again, thanks for keeping us on track, Phil. You're the pro here. So last year, as Phil alluded to, we were 16-0. We won 2 tournaments on our way. The first time we lost a series all season was in the semifinals of the whole league. We lost to the Wizards and they won the championship.
Yep.
So we did, one big trade in the offseason because, as there are roles on any NBA 2K League team that are kind of seen as primary roles, and then there are more like support roles. And so point guard and center would be those 2 primary roles. So we decided to trade Jerry for Type, just to get ahead of a budding chemistry issue. There's a lot of leaders. Jerry's a leader. Kenny's a leader. Timelycook is a leader on the team. And, when you have a team of 6 and you have 3 leaders, it can be almost too many cooks in the kitchen. And so we wanted to go and start fresh with some, and again, elite centers don't become available very often. So when Type was available, I thought, okay, here's an opportunity. It's another great talent. Doesn't have the same baggage that had developed with one of the other players, and again, not either of their fault. It just happens. They lived together in a gaming house. They went through an intense 2K League season. Both of them were as mature and professional as they could be in every situation, but sometimes it's just not clicking, right? And no fault of anyone in particular.
Yeah.
So we do the trade. Type comes in. We're all feeling very optimistic about the season. And as you said, we get blown out of the tip-off tournament. We can't get a win. We're 0-6 to start off the regular season. Just not what anyone expected. And there's a lot of reasons. I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but every year the 2K League build changes. And so our strategy has always been to get players who are versatile, players who have been good for a long time at 2K, not just those kind of flash in a pan, come up through one off season of pro-am type players. Mm-hmm. Not that there aren't great players who do that and come through that system, but it's just higher risk to me, right? Because you don't know what the league build's going to play like, and you don't know what the next season of the league build's going to play like. So if you're building for the future, you've got to have some versatility there. And so this year was probably the most dramatic shift as far as the league build. Not only was it kind of designed to play differently, but we changed platforms. So as we've been on PC for the first 3 seasons of the league. This year we're on PlayStation 5. Yep. And as half the league comes up from Xbox, half the league comes up from PlayStation. And in our case, all of our players were Xbox players. They've been playing Xbox their whole lives, essentially. And so, there was a transition, and it was a little bit uncomfortable for our team initially. But as you were alluding to, and as we'll get to in a moment when we bring the players in for an interview, a month ago or just under, we did a big trade. And so, those who are 2K fans will know. Yeah, those who are 2K fans will already know the story. Those who aren't, just for a little bit of context for you. So we traded Reese Mode, who was a huge part of our success last year. He came in as a rookie shooting guard and was shooting the lights out, best shooter in the league last year. And we traded him, plus we packaged up a 2nd round pick for Dimes, that boy Dimes. Dimes has been the point guard of the Dallas Mavericks, Mavs Gaming, for the first 3 seasons of the league, and then the first half of this season, obviously. And he's most famous for having been the first ever first overall draft pick.
Yep. He was on the jump.
He was the guy. He was the season 1 guy. Remember, he was on Sports Center. He was everywhere. So I've been a fan of Dimes for a long time. We've been following each other and keeping up and, just wishing each other happy birthday, just pleasantries, that kind of thing. And when he became available, and one thing I'll say about this before we bring the players in, Phil, is it was a really cold trade market this year. One of the other things that changed this year is they expanded the playoffs. So it's 12 teams, and they also split us into conferences. So now we have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference. And every year there's been the ticket. And again, we've talked about that, but that's the wild card tournament. So all the non-playoff teams compete for the last spot in the playoffs, basically. This year, for latency-related reasons, and it makes a ton of sense for a whole bunch of reasons, they've split the ticket into the Eastern ticket and the Western ticket. So now all you need to do is beat the non-playoff teams to get into the playoffs. And that's obviously what we're hoping for. I'll say, our team is playing much different since the trade for Dimes. We came out and 4-0'd the first week. We had a tough go against the Grizz this week, but they're a great team this year, already clinched for the playoffs. And so the point is that because there's like such a real opportunity to fight your way into the playoffs through the ticket, And because we're playing more games this year, the record, playing 28 games, there's a log jam of teams hovering around 500. So nobody wanted to do anything drastic. So it was a really cold trade market, some support players here and there, people looking for future picks, but not much going on. And so being one of the only teams that was kind of shopping and looking for answers, when we came across the fact that Dimes was available, and I'll just say without being too specific, there was another elite or very good point guard available in the market as well. It was like all of a sudden there's a surplus of point guards, and we didn't have to give up that much to get him in here, to be honest. So not that Reese isn't a fantastic player, but there's a difference between a shooting guard, a true shooting guard, and a point guard, right?
Well,
and
point guard is the cute quarterback of the team. I mean, we're not saying anything that everybody doesn't already know. Reese Mo's fantastic, but I mean, Dimes is Dimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to keep it 100. So I think that was an excellent trade, and you mentioned it like right off the bat. You saw the turnaround, you saw the impact, and definitely the fact that it just seems like the chemistry for these guys is just not. Doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue. So I think your expectations for the ticket should be set pretty high, especially the fact that they split it into Eastern and Western. I think that's pretty sick, actually. I mean, I know I'm on the podcast here. I'm not trying to sound biased, but I think that I just have a lot of faith in Kenny in general. I think he's godlike. I think Cook is always motivated to do well. I think Dimes is just a terrific talent overall. So I think you guys have an excellent chance to do what you believe this team is capable of.
That's the point right there. We got Kenny. Kenny's been our point guard. He was the MVP of the league last year. He set the record for the most records last year, and he's also the most humble guy in the league. And so when we did the trade for Dimes, I mean, I floated it by him, and it was just, okay, let's do it. That could be the secret, the answer to our season kind of thing, to turning this thing around. And he was so welcoming of moving to the shooting guard, moving to the two guard. And, Dimes, you've heard this from Dimes himself, for those of you following our team closely, he was just so excited to come and play with a guy like Kenny, who was so willing to just give him the keys right away and say, you be our point guard now, And honestly, Kenny is such a good player and such a smart mind. He can play any position 1 through 5. I'm convinced of that. And he pretty much has for us over 4 seasons, but him at the two guard now is incredible. It's just our backcourt punch between Dimes and Kenny. I mean, we still have a lot of 2K to play. We've only played 3 games, 3 series, but I think on paper it's hard to say that there's a better 1-2 punch in the league between Kenny and Dimes.
And I think that change that Kenny made is a little underrated too, because that's somebody who, think about. I mean, I can name so many. I'm not going to. I can name so many players that they had Kenny's acumen and stats and accomplishments, especially from last year. Dude, they'd have such a big head. They're not moving for anything. This guy puts the team first, and those are the kind of people you want on your team, because somebody with that record who's that humble that's rare. That's rare in my opinion. That's not just 2K. That's all of esports. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, sports in general. It's crazy.
Even when I didn't know anything about 2K and I couldn't scout talent myself, I knew how valuable Kenny was because of how many people came looking for him. Came knocking for trades in the offseason and that kind of thing. Kenny is, he's one of a kind in our league, and as you said, in esports too. I mean, I got a lot of experience. We were in a dozen different games at Luminosity Gaming, and personalities like Kenny with low ego like him, it's just invaluable to an organization.
Love it.
All right. Well, with that in mind, again, guys, we're just kind of getting the ropes here with our podcast. So, producer Ed, are you ready with the players to bring them in for a little interview with Kenny, Dimes, and Timelycook? There they are. Caught him off guard. Kenny's just finishing gaming. What's going on, boys?
Perfect.
What's up? What's going on?
So these guys are the original Still Trill, at least 3 of them. Phil, you'll know this. I'll set it up a little bit, and then you can take it away. But
let's do it.
So these guys won the first, or I think it was actually the second, but it was called the Road to the All-Star. It was a $250,000 2K tournament. Yep. And I think at the time, what nobody knew was the NBA was running these 2 tournaments for $250,000 as a pilot experiment for the 2K league, right? And so that's kind of where this whole thing kicked off. These guys were teammates. They won that tournament, brought home the $250K, and then I think, it was within 6 months or a year of winning that the 2K league was announced.
Wait, so this was like an official experiment from the NBA themselves before they pulled the trigger on the league?
Well, they ran it, because I mean it was integrated into the All-Star game, right? Like we'll hear from the guys here, but I know they were rubbing elbows with NBA players, and I think there's a story from a party that they went to that maybe we'll get out of the guys to see how comfortable they feel here on the podcast today.
Let it all out, man. this ain't the league. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Just
Oh
talk your
yeah.
shit. All right.
A
That's what
quick
that's what I'm
story.
here for.
A quick story about the nine Still Trill. Okay, so I was playing with this guy H Town's Capo. This was like 2K11 days. He recruited me. It was like 2 Trill and things like that. And then later on, when I met up with Timelycook, he seen me out there like struggling, like carrying the load. He was like, "Let me team up with this guy because I can help him." So around like 2K15 ish, that's when he came around. And then yeah, the Take Two had hosted these tournaments for $250,000. We qualified for that first one, but we got knocked out because roster issues and things like that. And on the second one, we was having the same kind of issues with rosters. Like we was scrambling around like winning time, and then that's when Dimes had hit us up. Or did we hit you up?
Tomley hit me up.
Okay, we hit up Dimes because we needed like a guard, and Dimes was like, "Man, I'm a package deal." It was either you run with me and Swizz, or you don't get me. So we had to bring in Swizz with him, and then our problem that we always had was we couldn't find keep a center around, like a great center. So that's when we brought in like detoxies and like we didn't even play together for like weeks or nothing. We just like assembled this team, and then we like qualified for that tournament, and then we like ran through it. So just thinking about that, it's crazy. And that was started us for real.
But the funny thing though, this is the funny thing about detoxies though. Excuse me. We were actually running with a center called Magic, right? And the day of the qualification, like Magic had left or whatever. I guess he didn't like what we were doing or something. So Detoxies hit me up literally that morning, before the qualifications, and said, "Man, if you guys ever need a center, hit me up." So we in the party. The qualification started like noon or something. So we're in the party like 11:40. I'm like, "Bro, we're Magic, and I'm like, "Man, this dude just hit me up, Detox." He's like, because we weren't gonna be able to even play that day. So he come in, we run, we qualify, and from there on, we just was practicing, and that's how he got on the team. So it was actually crazy how he became a part of Still Trill.
Is there like because I'm not familiar with this, but was there like a message board for communication for all y'all back then? Like, how did y'all like even interact?
He messaged me through Xbox messages.
Xbox.
So
okay.
Yeah, through Xbox.
On the game.
That was the form of communication on Xbox messages.
Damn, that's crazy. And y'all all came kind of full circle because y'all all played in the league at some point. Obviously you guys are still here. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I look to my left and my right, and I see these guys. Like, I'm just upset. We weren't able to do that deal early in the season, but we can build something going forward though.
Shane,
and shout out Detox. He was a Raptor season 1, and it's a testament to him always being there and being Mr. Reliable, because he continued to get opportunities in the 2K League. And I think for prospects and players out there listening, like, you have no idea how many talented players are not in the league right now just because they couldn't be reliable. They couldn't do what Detox was doing, out of the game and off the court. And when you're a really good teammate, it's amazing how many more doors open to you. So, take that as a little bit of advice for anyone who's got aspirations to play in the league or stay in the league.
Sure.
Definitely.
Was the whole point behind the because obviously you have the Still Trill relationship. So like when this, because I guess I'm more talking to Kenny and Cook on this one. Shane brought it up when the trade became an option to get in Dimes. Was that even like a question mark, or did you guys just want to pull the trigger immediately?
Obviously it's question marks because what we did with Reese last season. You don't.
Yeah.
That don't happen. Like seasons like that don't happen. And that's my guy. I still talk to Reese like every day. So of course it was questions, but that's when I had to like put my friendship to the side and like just observe what's really going on around me. And I knew Dimes. I knew what he could do. If you get the right people around him, he's gonna be that number 1 overall pick that the Mavs took a chance on.
You hit everything on the head, man. I ain't really got to say too much. You said everything.
I remember.
I feel like it's hard to get you to talk sometimes, man. I ain't gonna lie, but interviews with you be having a lot to say.
I be chilling. But right now they got it. I know when to pick it up. They got me right now.
just to build on that, I remember the conversation with Kenny. It was about an hour-long conversation about the team and the struggles we were having, and then it was at the very end, and I said to him, like, all right, Kenny, you got to park your friendships, you got to put your GM cap on, you got to think like beyond next season, but also recognize like we're not giving up on this season. On paper, we have so much talent. There's, we potentially could be one move away from really figuring this thing out. And I said, what do you think about this trade? And there is a little bit of betting the future, because we did give up a second-round pick. Now, again, Dimes, you're worth that second-round pick all day, all night. I said coming into this, it was a cold trade market, and we certainly took advantage of that. But yeah, we did have to make that decision. Do we think that if we bring Dimes in, we could be a team that figures it out and gets ready for the ticket? And again, that's the plan. That's what we're all focused on right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do believe, like, I remember actually, so I specifically made sure, because I saw it on Twitter, I saw the trade, and I was like, the hell is this? I just, because I was just like, Dimes left Dallas, to me, that was just a big surprise. And, I was there for season 1, so I know how impactful and important it was that you were drafted first number 1, you know what I'm saying, going to Dallas. That was a big ass deal. So when you actually, like, that trade actually went through, I couldn't believe it. And then I made sure I watched that game, and y'all just lit it up. Like, y'all were immaculate. I was like, damn, this was like the turnaround they was looking for. They looking like that team from last year who went 16-0. You know what I'm saying? Got a couple banners. I was like, these boys is hooping again. So, I mean, the expectations for the ticket, it's got to be a W. Like, how confident are you guys going into it? I think you just got done doing scrims and stuff like that. You hopped on here, which we appreciate. How are y'all feeling going into the ticket?
Definitely confident. Like, once we got the trade, once the trade happened, we all knew what to expect. I'm playing with the guys who I won the most money I've ever won, playing the game of 2K. So going into it, we're definitely confident. We played the Nets, we played the Warriors, we beat them, and unfortunate loss versus the Grizzlies. But all 3 of those teams are playoff teams, So those are teams that, are essentially better than the teams we'll be playing in the ticket, because record-wise. So we know what we can do, and we know that teams really don't want to play us. You still have that fear of the Raptors defense, because people see what we do. What we've been doing since I've came here. What Kenny is doing in the press. What Tommy is doing. I'm safety man. So teams really don't want to play us. Point guards hate that defense. So we know the kind of fear we put in other teams' heart. This was the beginning of season 5. We would be 4-2 right now. So that's a pretty good spot. So we're definitely confident going into the ticket. And we know teams don't play us.
Facts. And I'll say, go ahead, Cook.
Go ahead, Shane. Do you think?
No. You were going to say that this is a rare opportunity. Let's hear you.
I was just about to say, we definitely confident, because, like you said, man, it's a win to go home, man. And at this point, we know we're not this team. We feel like we could do something in this ticket, and if we get on that stage, I know what we're gonna do on that stage. So I'm very confident what we gonna do in this ticket, and I can't wait for the ticket, to be honest.
See, Cook, that's exactly what I was going to prime you up for. And as a rookie co-host of a podcast, I got to learn to let the guests talk before I chime in. But that's exactly what I was going to say. So, Phil, you know this. The league announced this week or last week that the playoffs are going to be in Dallas on land. So we haven't been on land in 2 years. And if you look at this roster, we got 6 season 1 vets on this team. And man, once everybody's out of their comfort zone and suddenly they're not at the same gaming station they've been at all year, and they got these guys, barking at them across that stage, that's where I think we get an extra advantage as well. So, these guys know what's at stake, and yeah, let's keep, we're all focused on getting the ticket next week.
Players are going to fold in person. I was going to say, people are going to fold
100%.
I think it's going to be hilarious to see, that's the thing I miss the most about the league is the in-person, bro. Because I've been in that studio and seen people. I sat up at that high desk up there doing the host and stuff. I would look down and just see people shaking, bro. I was like, that's a damn shame. Like, you're really not built for this moment. And I know you 3, like Kenny, don't seem like nothing ever bother him. And Dimes and Cook, they're just savages. So, when you say no team really want to see y'all or play y'all, I 100% believe that. It's going to be a problem for some people out there.
Especially in person. They definitely don't want that. Timelycook standing up, screaming at you. Oh, yeah. Come on, man. You got him.
We just got to get there.
Come on, man.
Not to mention, Dimes would be walking into his old house, the house that Dimes built. So
I think that's got to be more motivation than fear, though, right? You just want to burn that down.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the storyline, Shane. You already know. Crazy.
That just gave me a content idea. We're gonna, well, we won't put the cart before the horse. We got a few days left here to prepare for that ticket. But yeah, it'd be nice to roll in there with Dimes and just watch you guys throw down on that stage. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's home court advantage.
Still home court advantage.
Boys, this is our podcast. It's the first time we're doing this. There's going to be 10 episodes. Again, different guests coming in and out across the episodes. But it's a chance to tell stories. Does anyone have stories? I mean, not to put anyone on the spot, but Dimes, like, again, you were the first overall pick. Like, what was that first season like? Like, what was it like, your life changing from you were just playing 2K and, I was watching you with Dirk and Rico casting to all of a sudden, like, you're the first overall pick in the NBA 2K League?
Excuse me. So how was my first experience, man? Season 1, it was a tough season. Coming into the league and then, going from, 2K17, obviously we won the 250K tournament. We won tournaments after, and then having a year I had 2K18, winning a lot as well. So coming into the actual league, being the first pick or whatever, and then having a losing season. I had never experienced that before. So it was pretty tough. I went through a lot. Obviously, I was the leader, the guy, the face of the team. And, there's definitely things I could have done better, but I just was so, like, I didn't have the knowledge, then. So I had to grow as a leader, as a person, as a teammate, because, like I said, coming from 2 years of, winning, like, everything goes well when you're winning. So, having that, the things between Dave Fry and I and, the rest of the team, him and I both, we even spoke on it, now we speak on it. And, we just didn't know what to do. We were young, that was our first season. We had never done this before. So, it was definitely an experience for sure that I would have to say about season 1. A learning experience and knowing how to lose. It's weird as that sounds. So that's what I would wrap season 1 into.
I'd say, I mean,
picked by Adam Silver, man.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was
Adam
crazy.
Silver read Dime's name, read his pick.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I've even seen him after that. So I did a AT&T event, in LA. They flew me out, and I go out there and I'm speaking on a panel, just about esports and everything. And Adam Silver is there. We take pictures and everything, and just chat a little bit. So very very great guy, and it's just crazy to even be able to say I've done that. So it's just a great experience, and definitely blessed to be able to say that.
I've definitely seen the maturity between. That beef was wild. But I definitely seen the maturity between all y'all come full circle, which is why I think it just kind of lends itself to why you guys are like veterans and why you've had such good success and longevity in the league too. Not everybody can say that, you know what I'm saying? One thing I would like to pose, a little bit of a joke question, but just because I envision the league's going to be around for a long time, do you imagine a scenario or a situation where you could see all of Still Trill on the same roster playing together? Could that ever happen? Would you want it to happen?
I think it'd be a little different, to be honest, because back then Kenny was the power forward, and now he's a shooting guard. So if it was to happen, Swiss will have to be the power forward, and he has played power forward throughout the league. On the Pacers when that post shot creator was a thing, but Detox isn't even in the league, so it'd definitely be tough. He'd have to come back.
Detox is slinging real estate down in Margaritaville.
Yeah, he's working.
Following on Instagram. Shout out Detox. Best of luck with your real estate career, my brother. You're a great dude, so I'm sure in real estate, that personal charm goes a long way. I'm sure Detox would be very successful at that. We wish him nothing but the best.
Good guy right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What about you guys, Cook, Kenny? Any stories like going back? I mean, 4 seasons in the league.
I'm gonna let these guys like pick up on it, but it was when we was in New Orleans, and before. It was like when we won the money, and 2K, they flew us out to New Orleans, and they had us in this hotel downtown for like a week straight, and we was just walking on the strip, and we went to the mall, and outside. These guys was playing a game. You can call it the shell game. It's like a 3 caps and it's like a ball with a board, and they ask you like which find it for money. It's gambling, and I see that a lot back home. So I'm like, when I see guys on the streets hustling, I'm like, nah, it's no chance of you winning that. So now, guys, let's go to the mall. Let's go ahead and do this. But I think this was Cook's first time seeing something like that, and so he saw dollar signs. So he saw easy money because he got 20/20 and everything. So anyway, he was like, nah, Wap, come on, I got him. I'm like, nah, bro, let's go. I'm like, nah. And then okay, dude was talking because he's seen. I think they can tell when you're an outsider and you just like maybe a tourist or something. You know what I'm saying? Then because they gonna butter you up, ask you where you from, what's your name, what you doing here, and all that. I think that's when he got Cook because Cook was chatting with him, and then you want to try, man. But first, they kind of finessed because his friend that was with him, he went and like he actually like won the money. Like he actually got like a pocket full of money. But they didn't know that they was working together. But yeah, we didn't know that. And so Cook tried it. And long story short, Cook was down like $700 like in like
30
a minute.
seconds. Man, about a minute.
In like a minute, so we was going to the mall to get him a LeBron jersey. We was about to go and cut up, man, and my boy was looking sad like that whole time. So I ended up going to Cane's, buying him something to eat, man. He couldn't even buy himself nothing to eat, so. But yeah, it was tough.
That was
bad.
Highlight of the trip, man. That was the highlight of the trip.
That was bad. Sure. And we just won 50, so I had to take more chances, man. I tried to get some more, man, and end up with nothing.
It's tough. It's a lesson for life, though. It's a lesson for life.
I had to take that gamble, though. I had to.
That's funny.
So go ahead, Tom.
Shane, I hope you don't allow them.
The who?
The D-Wade party.
Oh, the party, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
Gotta talk about
party.
That.
Yeah, the party. The party was off the chain. So we all went into the party. We went there with Ronnie 2K. So basically, when we get in the party, like you look to your left, it's like D-Wade, Melo. You got Allen Iverson. You got all these guys. You got legends, Alonzo Mourning.
It was a private spade party hosted by Dwayne Wade.
Oh, okay.
And you just got everybody. Charles Oakley, you just got everybody in there. So it's like, and it was open bar. So, we up there having a good time. Everybody, it's time to get lit for real. So me personally, I was just so happy to be around these guys because I played basketball and like I watch it a lot. So I just see like Klay Thompson and all them. So me and Kenny, we go to the bar, start drinking, whatever, doing what we do. And, we trying to get the team to, celebrate. So, my boy Dimes over here. He the number one guy. So at this time I want him to turn up, but like you said, we was young, so he ain't really want to turn up how we want him to turn up. So I don't know, man. The experience was just great. It was just great, man. The experience was great. I can't really give you everything, but I just give you.
I was gonna say he's holding back.
We don't expect you to. We don't expect everything.
The experience was great, though.
That's good because we want to be able to run this story, Cook. So we can't.
Yeah, I already know.
Anything out there that we got.
That's why I gotta talk to Kenny, man. He a better I'll tell you than me, because I'm gonna give you raw footage. He gonna give you the right stuff to say. You feel me? But it was great.
Oh yeah, I was kind of starstruck walking around the party, and then it was a little section in the back. I had to get through like some securities, and I seen the guy in the back. Man, it was Dimes over there. I'm like, oh okay, my boy, enjoy it, man.
Nah, it was a fun party for sure, man. Everybody was there. It was crazy. It was just a good time, and we had just won $50,000 each. D-Wade party, New Orleans All-Star Weekend. So
All-Star game.
And that's what that's. Yeah,
I still got a lot of them pictures too.
That's incredible. I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine moments like that. I mean, those are just kind of like those iconic moments that y'all just make. You're just gonna cherish, really for the rest of your life. Because I mean, not a lot of people, especially fans of the game, can say they've ever been to a D-Wade exclusive party. I'm over here. I'm jealous. Exactly. This was years ago, and I still wish I found a way in. But it is what it is. But I feel like y'all have plenty more memories to make. Honestly, starting with the ticket, which I would like to just say first and foremost, wishing y'all the best of luck with that. I know the preparation is going to be real and intense. But I know y'all gonna deliver because I honestly I think this team, like just the fact that all y'all are veterans, you seem to play for each other, and you know other people are shook from you. That's all you really need, bro. Like the level of confidence I see from y'all three, I'm proud to sit here and be a brother with one of you. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it, and it's our last chance. It's our last chance.
Exactly.
We know that.
Yeah.
So.
And the story is writing itself. I mean, it's the move we did to prepare for the ticket, and it's funny now seeing Dimes here in Toronto as a Raptor. I mean, it almost feels like I always knew it was going to be the case in hindsight. Like it just feels like it fits and it works and it makes so much sense. And I got a lot of hope. So, guys, last question. Before we break, I can see that my Uber Eats is almost delivered. So this is the new podcast series. We're going to be bringing on a lot of people. Ex-players, current players, anyone who's kind of interested in coming on and telling stories about the 2K League. So, I guess each of you, who's your funniest teammate that you've played with? Because I'm looking for ideas for people to invite to come on the podcast. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll start with you, Cook. Who's your funniest teammate you ever played with?
My funniest teammate by far is my boy Coat. Like Coat is the funniest guy I've been around.
It's hilarious.
That's like he I don't know, like he just different. Coat just full of energy, but he's like funny. He just random too. Like he just come out of nowhere and just say something. Like Coat just one of them. He a great teammate. So like Coat is definitely my funniest teammate. That dude is hilarious. You got to know him to understand it though.
And you guys in season 1 lived in a big mansion in California, in Sacramento, like kind of like the setup you guys have at the Bell 5 house. But I remember the whole thing at that mansion was like pool in the backyard, like sunny every day. But then I heard you had internet issues and stuff. So it was a great mansion, but maybe not the best gaming house.
Yeah, probably not the best gaming house, but definitely the house. It was litty.
What
about you, Dimes? Funniest teammate?
Excuse me. This one is easy. Sleety's by far. Very energetic little guy. I think things become even more funny because he's little and he's just always doing something stupid. Great guy for a team. Great guy for great locker room guy. Vibes will never be low. No matter what's going on with him around. Very funny guy and always the life of the party. So Sleety's by far.
What about you, Ken?
How about you, Kenny?
Yeah, for me, hands down, my funniest teammate, who always like kept me like laughing and things, was King Quay. Dude is one.
I remember Quay.
Yeah, Quay is one of a kind. Even if we going out somewhere, like he always gonna like do something or say something. And he got jokes for days, and he say some stuff like you were not even thinking of. Like, what are you talking about, dude? But there's one guy who always kept the locker room laughing at something.
Yeah, Quay was one of a kind. We had him here for a couple years, for 2 seasons with Raptors Uprising, and man, he kept me laughing too. And I got such limited exposure to him compared to Kenny, because Kenny's living with him in a house every day. But every time we were with him, like you said, that guy, his brain is just going at a different clip than everyone else's. He sees things and he spots opportunities to make jokes about things that you would never come up with yourself. But he always absolutely nails it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I can co-sign that. Those hotel lobbies at the end of like seasons 1, 2 is just hilarious, bro. Just after the game, just chilling down there. That was a vibe.
He was like my favorite player on the team, and also the most challenging guy I had to deal with on the team, because Quay he's one of a kind. I remember one time I was like, getting mad at the guys for something in the team chat. We're in New York, and I'm writing something in the group chat about what they got to do differently or where we got to be or whatever. And I remember he just responds with the Miss Finster, the little snitch kid from Recess, writing on the thing, and he thought I didn't know what that was. He thought I was older, and I don't know Recess. So he put that in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, Quay, like you got something to say, Quay? And he's like, no, just taking notes, sir. And I'm like, what's your hotel room number? And he's like, 1034, whatever. I'll be right up. And then he's like, okay. And then I remember we went up there and we had it out with each other. But man, yeah, there's a reason we brought him back, and he's a great talent. I would love to see him back in the league at some point, because he brings a lot to a team. He brings a lot to a locker room and to a gaming house. Well, I don't know if you guys just heard that, but my doorbell just rang, which means my Uber Eats is here, and I've got to go grab it. Any last words, any last thoughts? Otherwise, appreciate you guys coming on.
Appreciate you having me, man. Good luck with this 2K podcast. Shout out to Uber Eats for getting us right.
Kenny, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I talk too much and too fast, but we got the pro Phil here, so hopefully this thing gets going smooth here after we get a couple podcasts under our belt. I'm going to go back, listen to this one, and probably cut like 20% of it out. But Phil, that's a good segue to you. Man. Yeah, no, we got good talent.
It's easy when you got homies and people you can just vibe with, have good conversation, and the audience will appreciate that. Just let it flow. And yeah, man, again, shouts to Uber Eats for putting this on. Thank you, Kenny Dimes and Timelycook, for taking time out of your day. Shane, I'm not really gonna thank you because it's your job. But other than that, fantastic podcast, and we appreciate it. And we'll definitely see you on the next one because we got at least 10 of these we want to put on. So make sure you lock in because we got more to come.
As mentioned on today's podcast, the Uber Pass gets you free delivery on restaurants and groceries, as well as rides perks. So be sure to check out the Uber Pass in your Uber and Uber Eats apps for a great deal.